Here we are now. We're in the second half of the podcast, and over to you, Christopher, with your choice for this week.
So my choice for this week is Smiling with No Teeth by Genesis Owusu. So released on the 5th of March of this year, this is the debut long player by Ghanaian Australian singer Genesis Owusu. And to say it's an ambitious project would be an understatement, to say the least. Clocking in at just shy of an hour, this album jostles you from one genre to another via hypnotic grooves, clever lyrics, fuzzy bass lines, and some pretty heavy topics: depression, racism, and woman beating, to name but three. And initially, this album, to me, felt like quite an intimidating listen. But once you allow the record to simmer, you soon start to sit back and marvel at the complexity at what Owusu has managed to produce here. 1 minute it's Outcast style hip hop, the next it has a feel of Damon Albarn's Gorillaz, with a little smattering of TV on the radio, but while always managing to feel fresh and original. In the press release for this, Owusu stated that performing what the world wants to see, even if you don't have the capacity to do so honestly, slathering honey on your demons to make them palatable to people who only want to know if you're okay if the answer is yes. That's the idea turned into beautiful, youthful, ugly, timeless, and strange music. I think that sums it up pretty perfectly. The musicians on this album are fantastic and hugely complement the swagger of Owusu's vocals. Particular mention needs to go to guitarist Kieran J. Callahan, who even takes centre spot on the 80s invoking Drown. I'm of the opinion that this is a masterpiece. I'm going in there early. And each time I listen to it, it fills me with a disbelief that this is a debut recording. But before we put this record under the microscope, Andy, a question. Smiling with No Teeth, Owusu, Genesis. Is this album an adventure in New Testament or an adventure in Old Testament?
Oh man, that's that's
I struggle for a question this week.
that's the worst question you've come
Yeah,
up with.
it's a bad one, isn't it? I struggle for a
It's
question
quite
this week. You're either getting that or something about Shane McGowan, and I couldn't decide.
Smiling with no teeth. Show me your best smile with no teeth. Well, no, you could just do that, can't you? You've overthought that, man.
Yeah.
You look like Smiler from Last of the Summer Wine doing that.
Oh.
Right. What a record. Yeah. A masterpiece, you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're probably not wrong. It's not lacking anything at all. I'm sort of blown away by this record, really, because it starts and you don't know what you're in for. On the Move is kind of like, is this electro? Is this sort of
Yeah.
dancey? And you had me watch a video for "Don't Need You," which is track 5 on the album.
Yes.
And
That was the video. I'll put it in the show notes, but that was live from Triple J, which is an Australian radio
right,
station.
but watching that, I was like, oh, this is a band. This isn't just a guy, I don't know, with a laptop.
No.
Which you could almost have believed this was, because the playing is just clinically good on everything.
Yeah.
And on the Move, for example, you know, when you kind of get into this album, is a very you know, programmed, synth led electronic track. You know, lots of samples, lots of clever things going on, but you're like, what is this? You see a band start to perform this stuff, and then all of a sudden it clicks. You realize that actually this is a soul album. This is an
also,
organic hip hop album. This is a lot of things.
worth pointing out as well is that they all have writing credits on it. So each song is writing credits. The producer is also the keyboard player.
So it's a proper kind of band that have got behind this guy.
It seems that way.
I feel, you know, knowing that Kieran J. Callahan is the quirky guitarist. Like in this video, for example, he's I mean,
he's got like a pirate hat on, doesn't he?
It's what, you know. I don't like to just talk about what someone's wearing, but the stuff he's wearing, man, he's like he's a real character.
Oh, he's just cool. I mean,
but
the thing is, in the video as well, Owusu just like absolutely has just got confidence by the bags, hasn't
Oh,
he?
it's
And it's
wicked,
like
yeah.
when it's paired up with the guitarist, who I did go on a bit of a sort of wormhole seeking out various videos of, and he's quite in himself. He's quite an impressive solo artist, and he's got some real good
Really?
recordings out there as well. Yeah,
Hmm.
but it seems like a perfect sort of partnership, really.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, they really seem to feed off each other's energy.
Mm,
I found myself watching that video, like one feeling for the other guitarist
yeah,
because it's like because sonically he's everywhere. He's like holding it together. You pick him out on every other track. Callanan is obviously playing the kind of weirder textures. You can hear him. This guy is just solid.
mm,
And but he doesn't have the same kind of visual aspect, and he's not the guy that Owusu goes to dance with, and it's like, oh, come on, he's doing it.
yeah,
But maybe he's happy there. Maybe he's like, no, don't dance with me, mate.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
just lay off. I'm
yeah.
quite happy here.
I mean, the Kieran J. Callahan. Before we sort of move on from him um, and get more into the album, I will stick a couple of links to show notes of a couple of videos of his that I've seen. There's a fantastic TED talk where he spends 4 minutes trying to get a plectrum out of his acoustic guitar, which is worth a watch, and also the video to his song "Big Enough," which I sent you the other day, Andy. Both well worth a watch. But yeah, I mean, the album, it's sort of from the first track, it fires up, doesn't it, with this song on the move. And the
Hmm.
reason I feel it's such a ambitious project is because there's so much been thrown at this album. And to be
Hmm.
honest, if you saw it on paper, if somebody described it and said, right, well, this song sounds like this, there's this going on,
Hmm.
you'd be like, it's too much. It's too much. But it
Yeah.
just works. It just works.
Well, it's really cohesive. One moment it is a soul record. I mean, a song about fishing. What even is that? That's just
Yeah, yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
Casting your net into an empty
Yeah,
sea.
it's
And there's
great. I mean, lyrically, the whole album's fantastic.
it is fantastic, and there's some really important songs on there as well.
Yes.
I don't see color. I just think is fantastic. It's a song about race, and it's it's like, no, you're one of the good ones, was I think is one of the lyrics on it, and
Yeah.
it's all about that kind of oh labeling and people what's the word, profiling
Yeah.
other people,
Yeah.
and it's really interesting in this day and age to hear the perspectives and the multiple different perspectives from different artists explaining this in their own words
Yes.
and in their own art as well. This is echoes of Run the Jewels from last year,
Massively.
and it's clever, it's insightful, it's it really clearly expresses what it's saying. he's
See, I
he's
think
some kind of lyrical genius.
I think what's really interesting is, you know, you hit track 8, "Smiling with No Teeth," and it's kind of got the touched on it before in the press release, but it's got that lyrics, great lyric, "Slathering honey on our demons,
Yeah.
palate of the apathetic, isn't that pathetic?" Such a nice sort of a nice rhyme. You've got "Smiling with No Teeth" and track 8, and track 9, "I Don't See Color," and the feel of the song just really drops. It goes like really stripped down. There's like the beat on "Smiling with No Teeth." It almost feels like some sort of chains or something. You know what I mean? It's like
Hmm.
some
Hmm.
percussive, just getting a percussive rhythm, and it's like the songs become stripped down, and the message is just loud and clear and center of the album.
Yeah.
And like you say, "I Don't See Color" feels such an important song.
Yeah.
And
I
it's just given that space where you go,
Yes.
take this in, take this in.
I think Whipcracker as well,
Yes.
which is similarly important, or talking about important issues. Um, that as well, I feel like that is begins as one of the most stripped back tracks on the whole album. It's like Four to the Floor and
Yeah.
just,
But
and
it
then
really showcases his rapping. It's like, wow, you've got a bass
yeah,
drum and you've got his rapping. It's incredible. It's great.
man, I wrote Showcase as well, but then I
Mm.
think it's actually a showcase for the whole band because as the song grows, it just explodes, and you got these absolutely killer guitar riffs, these massive bass riffs, the drumming boots off, everything about it is just really, really good.
Yeah.
And I found that to be a really fascinating listen. And one of the things I like about this record as a whole is that it doesn't, it doesn't wane.
Mm.
It doesn't go to track 10 and then all of a sudden you got 5 tracks of filler. It's like track 10, you've still got a song about fishing. You still got No Looking Back, and Bye Bye is like your perfect album
Yeah, it's
ender.
great, isn't it? It's great,
The
isn't it?
whole thing, the whole way through, is 54 minutes and 15 tracks. It ain't a short album. It ain't an
No,
easy listen.
no.
There's so much to take in. You know what? Maybe it is a masterpiece.
Do you know what I find interesting? Do you remember back to last series and we listened towards the end of last series, listened to Barty's Strange?
Oh
And
yeah.
one of the things that we didn't like about it, or that
Mhm.
particularly just sort of didn't sit right with us, was the way he'd arranged it, and he almost put like two songs together which were
Yeah.
very similar. Like, you had,
Yeah.
oh, here's two R&B ones, here's two rock ones.
Yeah.
I think the back end of this album is like that, but I really like it. So you've got Song About Fishing, No Looking
Uh-huh.
Back. You've got two songs which are in sort of
Mhm.
12/8.
Mhm.
You've got the two that I said before, Smiling with No Teeth, I Don't See Colour. They sound like a very, very nice brace of songs
Yeah.
working together. And there's a couple of other bits where you get, like, at the beginning, you've got The Other Black Dog, which is just this sort
Yeah.
of frantic, sort of real. The way that sort of kicks in, all my friends are hurting, but we dance it off, laugh it off. And you've got this sort of syncopated chorus, which is so aggressive. Every note is on the on
Oh, it's
the offbeat.
so clever.
It's so good.
Mm.
Centerfold follows that, and
Yeah.
that's like sort of that's the one that I thought was the most like a sort of big boy Outcast
Yes.
song.
Yeah.
It's
That's
got
a good
this
shout.
remarkable reversed vocal on the chorus, which is unbelievably catchy, and I kind of find myself singing along with it every time without being able to figure out a single word that it's saying. But the songs are so well put together on the album. But it just reminded me of that Barty's Strange, because that didn't work as well for me with Barty's Strange, but it just worked perfectly on this album.
Yeah, I mean, with Barty's Strange, we'd already kind of taken issue with the idea that he was ripping people off left, right, and center.
Yeah,
But
maybe
this
that's it.
this guy is owning his influences. You've mentioned a few in there. I mean, I don't really know what I heard as influences to this. I'll be honest. I often heard things like, I mean, even in On the Move, I there's a vocal sample, or maybe it's probably not a sample at all. A vocal, as probably in the second half of the track. It's less than 2 minutes long. Which really reminded me of Radiohead. And it's like, oh, this, I don't know if that's really in there as an influence,
Yeah.
but this guy is just pulling in all of this stuff and making it his own. I would never say that was a rip off of a Radiohead track, but I mean, I like the Barty Strange record, and there's some really good tracks on it. But the guy, he's probably I haven't
This
heard
feels like a
anything
different
from him.
league. This
It
feels like a
is
different league.
different league, and there's one thing about everyone's got their influences, and I can't remember who said it. It was like it's not about it's how well you hide them, which makes you your own artist. We're all ripping people off, but it's about how well you disguise that, which makes it sound like your own.
Yeah.
This guy has so much going for him and so much in these tracks, but I don't know if I could really put my finger on what any of it is.
Well, no, that's the thing. You get to track 4, Waiting on You, which has got the sort of vocal
Waiting on
spoken
ya.
intro. Yeah. And it's that, I mean, that is a groove song. It's got an incredible bass line. It's so good. But at this point, first time I'm listening to this album, it's like we're 4 tracks in, and I feel like we've had a different style of vocal performance in every song up to this point. But everyone is hitting the mark. It's like this guy can rap, he can sing, he can, it's so impressive. And that Waiting on You also has the line "Save money on sunglasses by forever staying in the shade."
Yeah, I like that.
I just love. And then the song that I'd heard, "Don't Need You," track 5, which I must sort of say, go and check out the live video, because it is incredible. But that for me is one of my tracks of the year. I love this song. I think it's a huge song. I love what I love about it is it's so sort of ambiguous. I mean, at first listen, and you think this song is about a toxic relationship, but in actual fact, I mean, we talked about the first album we talked about in this series, Viagra Boys, about it being a dog album. Now this every song pretty much mentions the black dog,
Yeah,
which
but
could be taken as
that's
depression. You know what I mean? That's
it
the
is
sort of
though,
whole
isn't
depression.
it?
And then yeah, exactly. And then although also have read an interview that he uses black dog as a bit of a play on words because that's something that has been called as a racial
Oh,
slur
okay,
past as
right.
well. But yeah, obviously, black dog is the the whole talking about his depression.
Mhm,
And that don't need you. It's so well done, isn't it? It's
mhm.
such like if you take that song as a song about depression, it's just brilliant. It's so good. It stands up so well.
Yeah, and I think Gold Chains was an interesting take on that as well, with the whole black dogs on gold chains. And it was for me, I was like searching for because so track 2 is called The Other Black Dog. You got Gold Chains track 7, which is about black dogs, and then track 10 is actually called Black Dogs. And I believe there are a lot of mental health references in there, which I think is a fantastic this is a fantastic exercise, this album,
Yeah.
in working some of those out and expressing them. But one of the things I liked about Black Dogs on Gold Chains reference in track 7 was the idea that we're still bound with whatever your depression is, and however nice your chain is, you're still trapped, and it was I don't know if I start to read too much into that, but it's cool. And even actually black dogs get a mention on so many tracks, even in the opening track On the Move.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
Absolutely.
it's always there, and it's interesting. So am I to take it that Don't Need You is going to be on the playlist?
Yeah, I mean, I think Don't Need You. I think is going to be the playlist track. Although it could be so many of them. I mean, sort
Hmm.
of really to bring this in conclusion. I mean, we've not even touched on things like track 6, Drown, which
Uh-huh.
is the sort of your 80s synth rock track. You've
Yeah,
got
yeah.
the Black Dogs track 10,
Hmm.
which is kind of punky. I mean, it's all over the place. Let me just tell you the singles that have come off this album. Right. So
Hmm.
you've had 5 singles off this album. Don't
Blimey.
Need You,
Yep.
Whipcracker, The Other
Yep.
Black Dog, Gold
Hmm.
Chains, and Drown. Now, if you heard those 5 songs in isolation, you wouldn't think it was the same artist, let alone off the same album.
No,
But
no,
it
no way.
works. It just works.
Totally. Gosh, 5 singles off a 15-track album. That's some stones to do that, really. But yeah, all justified, all probably better than most of the other things in the chart.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like I feel like this guy has got the potential to be huge. I really,
Mm.
truly believe that we're going to see a lot of this fella.
Yeah, I really hope so. I'd love to see this live.
Yes.
I think it would be, and I think it would be a party, but I think it would be. I just think it would absolutely go off. I think it would rock. I think it'd be so loud.
Imagine seeing this at a festival,
Oh
Saturday
man,
afternoon in the sun.
yeah. Oh God, yeah. Well, fingers crossed at some point they make it across, because I didn't know they were Australian, because we have this rule where we don't really research anything that the other one has chosen.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think if they can make it across, I'd love to see this.
yeah.
Wicked. Right, does that draw this to a close?
I think it does. I think it does. Great album. Check it out.
Smashing. Yeah, lovely stuff. What a week, everyone.